Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and Senator Blunt for holding this hearing. I've said many times that maintaining and improving our nation's infrastructure is absolutely vital to our country's economic prosperity, and it's also essential that we have a reliable and a safe system of transportation in this country. And I appreciate all of you. You all represent agencies that are key to that mission, and I appreciate you being here and your willingness to answer questions. I want to direct the first question, if I might, to Administrator Sable, and that has to do with positive train control. And I was pleased to see that the Grow America Act for the first time formally acknowledged the need for an extension. But my question has to do with why there wasn't a straightforward extension of the entire deadline as opposed to try and deal with this, as has been suggested, on a case-by-case basis, knowing full well that none of these railroads are going to be able to meet that 2015 deadline.
Senator, we really believe that the package that we've put together under Grow America, particularly relative to positive train control, gives us the right tools and provides the right balance to most advance and ensure public safety. You know, we believe you've got two extremes on this argument, and every time I come and testify, I hear it from the different senators. You know, those that are saying that under no circumstances should you expand the 2015 deadline, to those that say there should be a blanket extension. We believe that with the proposal that we have for provisional certification, that by working with each carrier to modify their implementation plan, and setting up the milestones that fit for each railroad based on the technical and programmatic challenges that each one has individually, and then being able to provisionally certify a piece of the system that we can best advance the benefits, achieve the benefits of as much of PTC as possible, as soon as possible. So we really think that it's the right approach that recognizes the challenges while also having that accountability and giving the public what they deserve.
But doesn't it make sense? I mean, if you want to hold the railroad's feet to the fire, there's no deadline in what you're talking about. And, you know, many of us, our colleagues on the committee here and others have introduced legislation that would provide this blanket extension that I referred to, which does have a hard, firm deadline in it. We know that no single railroad, freighter, passenger is likely to meet the 2015 deadline, but the proposal that you're suggesting here doesn't have any particular sense of urgency attached to it either, if you're going to just be able to waive this kind of on a case-by-case basis. So it strikes me at least that it would make a lot more sense if you want to, and if you want to treat the railroads in sort of a fair way, to give them, you know, push that out there, knowing that they're not going to be able to meet the 2015, but still keeping the sense of urgency and their feet to the fire.
The key, though, Senator, it's still critically important that you give us the authority that we need for provisional certification, because otherwise we can't approve an implementation plan that doesn't fully meet the deadline. We can't approve partial deployment. And so the industry needs, as well as my agency needs, the industry deserves the opportunity for us to have the appropriate element of flexibility to work with them on the challenges that they're facing while still advancing as much of the system as possible, as quickly as possible. The technology will save lives. It would have saved lives on Metro North. You know, so it's critical that we have the tools that we need to properly manage deployment.
Well, I think the legislation also has the provisional certification that you talked about as well. So, I mean, it's got some flexibility, but it also has the deadline attached to it. It just seems like a better approach, I guess.
Well, we'd certainly be willing to, you know, to work with you on some technical assistance to try and strike the right balance here.
Okay. Quickly, because we had a lot of colleagues, that I want to direct this to you, Ms. Farrell. This spring, both the DOT Inspector General and the GAO reviewed the CSA program, and you reportedly concurred with the IG's 6 recommendations, but the 2 JO recommendations remain open, and the official FMCSA comments were not provided to the GAO. Does the FMCSA plan to take action on those recommendations, and could you provide us an update, and if not, explain why?
Yes, certainly. The Compliance Safety Accountability Program, otherwise known as CSA, is at its heart a program to improve our overall enforcement and focus on the highest risk carriers with our limited resources. And the data structure, which takes advantage of over 3 million inspections managed each year to get at the performance of individual carriers, really does provide carriers as well an opportunity to look at their own performance and improve before we even need to get there if in fact they're showing high-risk behavior. That being said, it is an improvement over the prior system, but it's a program that we can continue to work on. And the GAO report, as well as the Inspector General's report, identify strategies for us to improve both the adequacy of the data, the utilization to ensure we're looking at the highest risk carriers, as well as the access of the data to all the public that takes advantage of it. We did, in fact, reply in full to the GAO. I'm sorry you don't have a copy of that. We'll make sure you see that. They received our response last month. And there are certainly aspects of the GAO analysis that we are making full use of. The core component that we disagreed with really relates to a methodology they propose that isolates the CSA analysis to a very small group of carriers, only the largest ones. And while large carriers have a significant impact on crash activity across our country, smaller carriers impact about half of those fatalities and injury crashes. So it's important we look at the full spectrum. So to cut to the chase, we are utilizing the recommendations from both agencies in continuing to improve the CSA program, the underlying data analysis, and accessibility to that data.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Blunt.
Thanks, Senator Thune. Senator Coburn.